All right. So working with a student, a few, and we're just talking about that sort of overexertion. Let's just go through a little bit of the bar chord stuff that I do talk about. That this will help alleviate when we're going for these bar chords, right? And if I'll just take this G bar chord. We attack that first finger. That's like right where our thumb is back here. And I know I've done these lessons before, but this will kind of guide us into the next part of the lesson. Is rather than trying to squeeze all of that, just focus on these three notes lightly too, right? Get that thumb behind the second finger so it's not back behind the first. It's giving a little bit more give for that second finger. As soon as that comes in, first finger comes down. First finger can be those click notes, that's fine. Then add a little pressure on the top. Maybe still the clicks in the bottom. Cool, and then eventually the bottom. And notice in that whole system how little you actually do have to press down. Now, we were doing right on that like Stairway to Heaven kind of a groove, the ending, the guitar solo. And what's interesting about that is if we are over squeezing, we're now adding, if I'm doing this lightly, not over squeezing on this example, if I'm doing this, okay, from pressing down to get the chord to this, that jump in effort is from here to here, right? If I'm overexerting, we're adding so much more of a difference of how wildly different it is for an over squeeze and then just light enough to lay your fingers over and get that sound, okay? So this is a perfect regulator of how much you're actually pressing down and how much you actually need to press down. So one great part of this exercise too is we take that chord and just sort of do this. Get the chord ready, and then you sort of feel in between the X note and then the actual note. Right, so you can see, okay, that's all I have to press down. That's all I have to lift up to get the X. That same amount of pressure happens with all your strings. It doesn't multiply the pressure by 6 strings. It's the same amount of press down and lift up. The only thing is we have to sort of get our mind, a little bit of like a brain trick, but also the physical part of your hand to realize it doesn't have to squeeze all the way down and it doesn't have to get way lighter. And it's just this with all the strings. And you can see that the little bit of press, I'm gonna get this really closely. I can do, even if I kind of jump in between. So now we have, the next part is going to be, can you switch those chords without exerting? So now, if you know this doesn't take too much, right? If you just hang on that one chord, really feel out that amount of pressure. Can you jump to the next chord without overexerting and squeezing? It's another thing that we all do. A fast movement to another chord tends to get us to over squeeze, where we need to go the opposite way. And when we're switching chords and really having to move our hand from different chord positions, that we have to go more relaxed to get there and not strain a little bit more. So now I would rather a couple of those buzz notes. I'd much rather that. Right? I'm not getting all 6 of those strings. I'm going to just a little bit lighter, but I'm able to regulate that. I can feel, right? Every chord has a few missed notes. So I'm just a little too light. So all I have to do is now add just a little bit more to that without going crazy. It doesn't take too much more. And the last part of this lesson that we were doing is, can you stay on one chord for a second? Can you actually find that minimal amount of pressure? And can you get louder with this? Without squeezing here. And a great way to tell is trying to get those buzz notes in there. Right? Getting a couple of those and not letting them go just because you're playing harder, okay? some really, really interesting stuff to sort of feel out this whole pressed all the way down 100% to get the note, and then lift it up to get this click sound. Because there's a lot of really cool stuff in there. There's, you know, in just that little sort of funk thing, some of those notes are pressed down halfway. So you sort of get that click popped up. Some of them are cut off really quickly. Some of them are held out just a little bit longer. So there's a lot of dynamic happening in there. When you can gain this small amount of control, there's a lot of sounds that you can create. And it's so great for certain genres. And it's just so great to be able to feel out the guitar in that way. The more you do these little exercises, the more in tune you become to those smaller amounts of musculature. So just something to give you guys on Tuesday. If you guys can tell, I'm a little bit stuffy, which is why I haven't been on in a second. And I know even though I do sound stuffy, I still wanted to do some videos today. So that'll be it. Let me know what you guys think.